Well, good morning, YouTube. All right, in a previous video, you saw where I had unboxed and demonstrated how well the Let's Roll Cruiser Dolly works on my Harley-Davidson Road King. Yeah, we call it the Street King, but it's a Road King. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about why this is a better option than maybe some of the alternatives that are out there on the market. Well, guys, let's start with the obvious contender. As I mentioned in the previous video, you've got the full motorcycle lift table. These are great devices, don't get me wrong, but for the average DIYer trying to service their motorcycle or clean their motorcycle in their garage, it's just not practical. These cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Even a cheap one is going to be $1,000 probably once you get a wheel chock and everything else to stabilize the motorcycle, your straps, you add it all together. Plus you need either an air compressor or some type of a foot pedal or something to operate. Got hydraulics involved. You're looking at a minimum of $1,000. These tables right here, probably $1,400 to $1,600. They can go on up to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a table. Granted, they serve their purpose, and I wouldn't run my business without them, but it's not necessarily practical for a guy in his garage. So the Let's Roll Cruiser Dolly is actually less than half of what even the cheapest motorcycle lift table would cost. Also, space. These take up a lot of room, and not everybody has the room to be able to put that in their garage. So the other option would be something like this right here. Yeah, you can pick these things up cheap at Harbor Freight and other places, but guys, understand that most of these items made in China, I don't care what name is on it, most of them are going to be made in China and put different names on them for the different people that are selling them, whether it says Craftsman on it or Harbor Freight or whatever it is. And they're just not as good. So this one here has a Pro Lift name on it. Who it's actually made by, I don't know. I don't even remember where I got this. I've had it for so long. But keep in mind, you've got a hydraulic cylinder on there. So yeah, it's a one step easier because you can slide this underneath the motorcycle and then just go straight up. You lock the lock and it stays in place. It sounds simple, but these are actually kind of a pain in the butt to use sometimes. And if you look at this hydraulic cylinder, it's a mess because it leaks and it wicks over time. And obviously, with the Let's Roll Motorcycle Cruiser Dolly, you don't have any hydraulics to worry about. There's nothing mechanical that can go bad on this. It's just going to last years and years. So now on the top of both this motorcycle slash ATV jack and the Let's Roll Motorcycle Cruiser Dolly, they have rubber pads. But if you look at the difference between them, the ones on the Let's Roll unit is much thicker and they've got this grippier finger edge in there that just, it really works well to cushion the motorcycle and stabilize it and stop it from sliding around. And they just look a lot more durable than these do to me. In fact, if you look on these, you can see this one's missing and this one is, well, pretty well torn up. Again, it's much older, but these just feel much more durable than those ever did.
Now you will get a little bit more height out of these hydraulic lifts, but the additional height doesn't really equate into any type of a benefit. The Let's Roll Cruiser Dolly will get you more than enough off the ground to remove your wheels, service your motorcycle, do everything you need to do. So although that extra height might be nice, it's really catered towards the ATV market because they have a longer suspension travel and it takes longer for those wheels to come off the ground. On your street bike, this is all you need. The other downside to all of this mechanism in here is that you can't service anything in between. Once this is under your motorcycle with this crossbar here and this crossbar here, you're very limited on the accessibility of what's underneath. You can't fit an oil pan underneath there. If you try to drain the oil, you're likely to make a mess. Where the Cruiser Dolly leaves you plenty of room underneath to do what you need to do.
Next is maneuverability. You guys saw in that first video, when the motorcycle is up on this dolly, you can move it anywhere with ease. One-hand operation, if necessary. It rolls smooth. If there are minor bumps and imperfections in the surface that you're rolling it on, it's not a problem. It makes it over it. It's just so much more easier to use. Now this one, when you get it underneath your motorcycle and it's got weight on it, because the two front wheels are fixed, only the two back ones caster, it doesn't want to move very good. You can get it to roll forward and backwards, and you can kind of get it to angle and make a large sweeping turn with it, but trying to pivot is very difficult, and it just doesn't work well. And part of that is, one, just the sheer size of the casters. The Let's Roll Dolly has got massive casters on it in comparison to the other one. Now let's say you have nice, pretty epoxy-coated floors. If you try to move this Pro Lift across those floors, you're going to scratch them up. You'll probably scratch them up without the weight of a motorcycle on it, but if you try to maneuver it with a motorcycle on it, because these are metal casters, they're very harsh on floors like that, especially when you've got weight on it, especially because this doesn't maneuver well. So you end up with a lot more sliding action from these front wheels because they don't caster, they don't pivot at all. It will tear up any type of painted or epoxy floor. On the other hand, the Let's Roll Cruiser Dolly has got a nice rubber compound on the wheel, so it will not scratch up your floors. And even on the bottom of the lift jack, there are felt pads so that when you slide that in underneath your motorcycle to the initial jack up, it will not scratch your floors. Now, one thing that I noticed that wasn't listed in any of the specs is the ground clearance. If you look at how high up the Let's Roll Cruiser Dolly is compared to this other lift, there's a lot of ground clearance there. So if your ground isn't perfect, it's not going to get caught up on it. And I can tell you right now, in my shop, whoever laid this concrete didn't do a very good job. So there are high spots and low spots in it. And whenever I try to move something on this one, the frame of it actually hits the ground and catches and bottoms out. And because it doesn't hold the motorcycle as stable, it's almost scary. You almost feel like the motorcycle is going to fall off of it when that happens. And the difference, as you can see, is this rolls around nice and easy. Even up here with no weight on it, look, it's scraping across the top of the lift because the ground clearance is that bad. Now, I will admit, this thing is bent, but that even goes to show the durability. The way this is designed, if you look at this closely, that lift is bent. Look at the difference in clearance on this side compared to that side. Now let's talk durability for a moment. As I said in the previous video, these brackets here that the casters come off of, they are a 1/2 inch thick, fully welded to the body, very, very strong. If you come back here and you look at the bracket here, this is only 3/16. And if you can't tell in the picture, from years of use, they are already bent. As you can see, this lift overall width is about 14 3/4 inches, and the Cruiser Dolly is 18 1/4. Now that is 3.5 inches wider than the Pro Lift is, and that adds a lot to the extra stability you get when using the Let's Roll Cruiser Dolly. Another thing that adds to the stability is the lack of all of these moving points. So as this scissors up, because there are so many connection points, there's a little bit of a sway that happens in there that takes away from that stability. Where the Let's Roll Dolly is fixed, it's bolted together, there are no moving parts other than casters, so it rolls nice and easy, and the motorcycle resting on top is extremely, extremely stable. Way more stable than on this unit here. And because of the design of the Let's Roll Cruiser Dolly is so stable, there is no need for tie-down straps. Now that Pro Lift, if you don't strap the bike down and you try to move it, it is really scary. I do not recommend it. There are hooks on it for a reason. You must tie a bike down on that for safety. But the Dolly, it is super, super stable, so you don't have to spend the money on tie-down straps either. So in summary, less mess, less hassle, easier to store. It's not going to tear up your floors, but more importantly, it's just a better quality made unit. Yeah, I know that those little hydraulic ATV motorcycle jacks are cheaper, but understand they're really designed for ATVs and not really motorcycles. And typically ATVs are much lighter and they work pretty well in that application. It's not to say you couldn't still use the Cruiser Dolly on an ATV in most cases. So although the price is a little bit higher, understand you get what you pay for. It's an American-made product made to a much higher standard. And you guys know how I am with quality. I would rather pay a little bit more to get something that's going to last a lot longer and be safe. After all, we are putting our motorcycles on it. And to most of us, our motorcycles are prized possession. The motorcycle is worth more to us than what we're going to spend on any type of equipment to take care of it. The Let's Roll Dolly is just more stable underneath the motorcycle as well, and that means a lot. That's the safety of your motorcycle, it's the safety of you. If your motorcycle falls off of a cheaper lift, at that point, what does it cost you? Probably not worth what you saved on buying a cheap lift. Again, quality goes a long way. You get what you pay for. I think the Let's Roll Cruiser Dolly is a great bargain for what it is and how well it is built. Well guys, I hope that was helpful and I hope you enjoyed the video. Until the next time I see you, keep those engines running.